Are we ready? I wish I had a podium, but... Okay, this is Jennifer Reed. Jennifer is the widow of Chad Reed. Jennifer will not be answering questions, but she will have a brief statement that she would like to read. Now, as you know, there's been a lot of information and a lot of misinformation surrounding the shooting of Chad Reed. We filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Kyle Carruth and the companies that he is involved in. And because there's been no action from the authorities related to what happened on November 5th, that's why we filed. That lawsuit, I believe, has led to some action. And we have copies of the most recent lawsuit that we've amended that we will make available to everyone who wants a copy. Now let's be clear about what happened on November 5th. Chad Reed was supposed to have custody of his son that day. He was supposed to have custody beginning around 3 p.m. Chad had exchanged multiple texts with his ex-wife, Christina. We have those texts. We know exactly what she said to him and what he said to her. Chad was simply trying to determine his son's whereabouts. Christina purposely did not tell Chad where his son was. His son had been sick. Chad was trying to figure out whether he had went to school, where the young man was, and where he could be picked up. Christina purposely did not tell him, although she did tell him she was at work. Christina was using her kids to take out her aggression against her ex-husband. Too many times we see fathers and mothers who share custody, who use innocent kids as pawns in an unnecessary struggle. Christina worked at 2104 90th Street right here in Lubbock, Texas. That property is owned by Johnny Bob Carruth, Kyle Carruth's father. According to the Secretary of State, from that address, at least 3 businesses operate. Those businesses have been sued in this lawsuit. Chad and Jennifer stopped by his ex-wife's place of business. The only reason he went by there, the only reason they went by there, was to see if his son was there and to pick up his son. He went there looking for his son because his ex-wife would not tell him where his son was. He didn't go looking for a fight. He didn't go looking for an argument. And he didn't take a weapon. While at his wife's place of business, the two argued. We've all seen the video. Chad Reed was not violent. I want you to look carefully at that video. Chad Reed kept quite a distance between himself and his ex-wife. His ex-wife wasn't violent. Chad didn't have a gun. His ex-wife didn't have a gun. They simply argued as exes sometimes do. It happens every single minute of every single hour of every single day across the state of Texas and across the United States. But for whatever reason, Kyle Carruth decided to go back into his house and get a weapon. He even says, he doesn't say when he walks into the house, I'm in danger, you're taking my property, you're stealing from, nothing like that. All he said was, get off my property. And he leaves, and he returns with a weapon. Kyle Carruth made a decision to come outside and then interject himself into a conversation that he had no part of with a weapon. We believe that decision was unreasonable, and that decision was negligent. Kyle Carruth then began to argue with Chad Reed, and then shot the weapon at Chad Reed's feet. That also was unreasonable, irresponsible, and negligent. We also believe that to be an aggravated assault. Completely unnecessary and needless. I have been shot at before. I've had people point weapons at me before. I can tell you, you have really one of two choices. You can either try to defend yourself or you can run. The two men struggled. They separated. They were more than 3 feet apart, and Kyle Carruth shot and killed Chad Reed right there at that very spot. That also was unreasonable, irresponsible, and negligent. Chad Reed died at that address. After the shooting, the shooter did not render aid. Instead, he stood there and said, as Chad was either dying or was already dead, he stood there and said, "I told you to get off my property." He didn't say, "Oh, I shot because I was in danger of my life. I shot because I thought he was going to hurt me. I shot because I was in some sort of fear." No. He simply said, "I told you so. I told y'all to leave." That doesn't sound like somebody that was in fear of their lives. It doesn't sound like somebody who was acting in self-defense. I want you to look very carefully at that video. Look at what Kyle Carruth said before he went and got that weapon, and look at what he said after he pulled the trigger. That tells the tale about whether there is so-called self-defense in this case. Chad Reed's death was needless. The whole evolution that day was unnecessary. But here's the part that makes one shake their head and wonder. People all over the state of Texas and all over the United States are having the same reaction. Why wasn't that man arrested? Why wasn't that man arrested? The rules are very clear across the United States. The rules are very clear in most police departments across the country. When there's a shooting and a death, an arrest is made, period. No arrest was made here. Very few people were even questioned. The man who pulled the trigger and killed Chad Reed is still walking around in this community. You know what his biggest concern was after killing Chad Reed? What concessions are we going to bring to the kids' game? You'll learn about that as this case progresses. Kyle Carruth's going around this community as if nothing happened. He shot and killed a man, a father of 2 sons, a loved husband. He's walking around as if nothing happened. And the entire police department, with few exceptions, has recused itself. We had Fitch trying to figure out where the gun was. We had to ask 3 or 4 different people, where is the weapon that killed Chad Reed? Where is the? We just found out this morning that now we're told that, oh, the evidence, the weapon that killed that man is in an evidence locker. This family has a right to know these answers. The entire district attorney's office has recused itself. Sua sponte recused itself. We don't even have a judge in this case. The best we have is, we're told the 9th Administrative Judicial District is going to appoint a judge sometime next week. How do you think that makes Jennifer Reed feel? Because of this lawsuit, the Attorney General's office is now investigating. This case has been referred to the Attorney General's office. I've had conversations with the Attorney General himself, and he assures me that this is going to be thoroughly investigated, and if charges are warranted, that they will be brought. I'm going to hold him to that. Jennifer's going to hold him to that. I've been told that the investigators and the DA, or the attorneys from the AG's office who are assigned to this case, are some of the best that the AG's office has to offer. I expect them to do their jobs. There's certain legal principles in criminal law. There's something called provoking the difficulty. You cannot interject violence into a situation and then claim self-defense. It's not the way it works. You cannot provoke violence and then claim self-defense. You cannot assault someone and then when they react, claim self-defense. Shooting a weapon in the direction of an individual is an assault. You cannot assault someone and then turn around and claim self-defense. Under the civil law, everyone has an obligation to act reasonably. Everyone has an obligation to act responsibly. It is unreasonable and irresponsible to interject yourself into a conversation that you have no business being a part of. It's irresponsible and negligent for you to leave, go into a structure, and return with a weapon and interject yourself into an argument that you have no part of. It's irresponsible for you to shoot a weapon in the direction of someone else who is unarmed, who is not moving towards you. We'll prove in the case, and I think it'll be pretty easy to prove, that Kyle Carruth's actions that day were unreasonable and irresponsible. Let me say a word for the people that own weapons, that own guns across the state of Texas. If you're like me and you lawfully own a weapon and you're responsible with that weapon, you watch that video, you probably have the same reaction I had. That person with that weapon was not acting responsibly, was not acting reasonably. There was no need for any of this. We support the right to bear arms. We support the right to reasonably use those weapons and guns and so forth. No one can support what happened on that day. Chad Reed died unnecessarily. Now here's what we need from you. We are calling on anyone who has knowledge of this situation to come forward. We are calling on anyone who has knowledge of this situation to come forward, and that includes Kyle Carruth's relationships with others that might impact what happened on November 5th. If you have evidence, no matter how small, we want to have it. We're easy to find. If you have texts with Kyle Carruth or any of his relatives, we want them. We believe that there was animosity on the part of Kyle Carruth against Chad Reed that existed long before November 5th. We believe that there were things said by the perpetrator, Kyle Carruth, long before November 5th about Chad Reed. If you have information or evidence that pertain to interactions with Kyle Carruth, anything he said about Chad Reed or the situation of Chad Reed's marriage, we want that. Specifically, we want the texts because we know they exist. As I've said, we're calling on the AG's office to fully investigate this matter vigorously. And we ask that charges be brought if appropriate. We want action. I think it's pretty clear this family is grieving. They are suffering. They deserve justice. So far, they've gotten nothing. Jennifer Reed watched her unarmed husband get gunned down and killed in front of her eyes. We want action. We have a very short statement that Jennifer's going to read. She won't take questions, but I will once she's done. Matt, will you take that for me? Can you do it? Yeah.
My name is Jennifer Reed. I'm blessed to be a Reed now. And Chad had 2 sons and also a daughter that was not there at the time, but she goes to College Station. Chad Reed is my husband. He was a good husband, and I loved him more than anything in this world. We only went there to try and find his son, who we thought who would be there. Chad was not a violent man. He did not have a gun. I saw Kyle Carruth shoot and kill my husband. Kyle Carruth has not been arrested. Please, I ask the police to take action. I ask the Attorney General's office to take action. I want justice for my husband, Chad Reed.
Take a few questions. If you have,
I have one.
Go ahead.
Why? Why has justice
been delayed in this case?
I want you to ask the police department that, and I want you to insist upon an answer, and then I want you to encourage the AG's office to prosecute if necessary. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
We saw an investigator at the courthouse from the AG's office on Friday. Can you explain why they were there?
You can ask them why. I can tell you what they did here in Lubbock last week. We've been talking to them, as you know. They interviewed Jennifer briefly. How long did that last? A couple hours, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah. So they came here to, I'm assuming they're interfacing with the police, whoever has the evidence, and they wanted to talk to Jennifer. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Do you believe, based on the facts of the case, and you've seen them, that Chad Reed's former wife, Christina, should be charges brought against her as either a co-conspirator or an accomplice in the murder of Chad Reed?
I'll let the AG's office decide that. Anybody else?
I
Yes,
was
sir.
just wondering if you could address if there was any concern that publicizing, his publicity of this case has gotten would jeopardize any sort of investigation by the AG's office.
I don't think so. I mean, I think that that the more light you shine on a situation, the more likely it is you're going to get action.
And anything else about the potential failure to stop and render aid that may come to light?
We don't know that yet. We're going to know more when we get the official reports. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. We'll keep you updated as the case progresses. Thanks. Let's go back that way.